I'm preparing to harness a carriage horse, and I'll explain all the pieces of harness as we go through. And then we'll put the carriage to the horse. The first thing we put on is the breast collar, and the breast collar has the traces attached. The breast collar is put on over the horse's head, and it's put on back to front, and I'll show you how this is done. Once the breast collar is over the horse's neck, it's simply a matter of tipping the breast collar over the horse's neck like so that it sits in that position. The traces simply go over the wither of the horse in a resting position until the rest of the harness is placed. It's good to make sure that the breast collar is above the horse's shoulder point so that it doesn't rub down and restrict the horse's movement. The next step is to put the back saddle and breeching on the horse. This is all attached. The breeching and the crupper strap is all attached to the back saddle. Simply place the back saddle over the horse's back. Bring the breeching back like so over the horse's rump. Normally we have a buckle at this point, but this being a fixed crupper, it's a matter of actually putting it on the horse in the correct way. This is done by folding the horse's tail in half so that it doesn't catch when it goes through the crupper. Simply put the tail through the crupper and slip over like so. Making sure there's no hair under the horse's tail. Pull it up gently and let the horse's tail go down gently. Pull the back saddle up till it's centered in the lower part of the horse's back, and then attach the girth. The girth being forward, similar to what you would have a ridden saddle girthed up. Never do the girth up tightly to start with. Just firm, making sure the girth is forward and the back saddle is sitting in the lower part of the horse's back. We make sure then that we have the right adjustment here, being 4 fingers under the crupper strap, being the right tension for the back saddle and the crupper to engage. We then make sure that the breeching is sitting at the right height. The rule of thumb is from the top of the tail to the hock, and the breeching is situated about halfway, if anything a little bit higher. About a couple of centimetres higher is the right height. Having it really low down here is wrong, or having it up high is incorrect as well. It must be sitting about halfway or just a tad higher. We then put on the Wing Cassette. This particular Wing Cassette has a Liverpool bit attached. It's a fixed cheek Liverpool bit with an arched mouth, giving room and making it very comfortable for the horse to wear this bit, because it gives tongue room and it doesn't restrict its tongue when this bit is in its mouth. Making sure that the forelock is under the brow band of the winkers. The next step is to attach the throat lash to the winker attachment. Then do up the nose band, making sure that the nose band is not being too tight and not being too loose. Always put your ends of your leather straps in the keepers. It's very important. The other thing is a good set of fitting harness is the hole in the buckle in each strap is normally in the center strap or the center hole of each particular set of harness, so that you've got adjustment up or adjustment down. I then put the traces over the horse's back so it makes it ready to actually attach the carriage to the horse. With this particular set of harness, I'm going to have the trace in underneath the back band. It can be correct that you can have the trace outside the back band depending on the carriage. Usually when it's outside, the swingle bar attachments are very low, so it is better to have the traces outside. When the traces are, the attachment is higher, it's better to have the trace within the back band. The last thing we'll attach is the reins. It's a good idea to try to keep the reins off the ground so that they don't get dirty or the horse doesn't walk on the reins. These are terrets. We will put the reins through the terrets from the back first, never from the hand part first, always the back first. I'm going to use just the normal ring attachment on this bit, so it's the mildest setting and the most comfortable for the horse. As a rule of thumb, and just being correct, it's always good to have the buckle on the handpiece on the right hand side, because it makes it easier to do up and undo when sitting in the carriage. What I do now is hang the reins so that they're off the ground and in an emergency situation easy to undo if there's something happened. I simply fold the reins in half, holding the buckle just off the ground, folding the reins in half, poking the reins through the terret, picking the end of the rein up, folding in half again, poking through the loop through the terret, and then at the end the loop and pull back. This is a very safe way to hang the reins in case you wanted to get the reins in an emergency. Plus it keeps the reins off the ground and in a really good position. This is what happens if you need the reins in a hurry. The reins just fall out of that position when put through the terret as such. I'll just do that again. Down, fold in half, put through, fold in half again, put through the loop, pull back from the back. And now we're ready for the carriage. I will go through some points before I do that, and just to make sure everyone knows all these points, and we're using the English terms. This is called the winker. This is called the winker cup. Brow band, headpiece, rosette, throat lash, nose band. I've explained the bit being a Liverpool arched mouth bit with fixed sides. We have the reins here. This is the breast collar. This is the neck strap. This is the rein terret. Breastplate buckle, the trace buckle, and we also have the back saddle. At this point I'm going to do up the girth one more point because it's a little bit loose. We have the back saddle, and then we have the tug. Now this is a quick release tug so that it is very, very quick to undo, and because we have modern carriages these days, most of the shafts are closed ends, so we need to be able to open the tug. We then have another rein terret here, and then we have the bearing rein hook. We haven't a bearing rein on this harness. We don't need it these days. We have the girth and the girth point, and we also have the back band attached to the quick release tug. We then have the crupper strap or back band. Then we have the loin strap. We have the breeching strap, and then we have the crupper. And this is the closed crupper. As I explained earlier, most harnesses these days has a buckle here. It makes it much easier for putting on the horse. This is a very old-fashioned way. This is how they did it 100 years ago. But having a buckle there is much easier. These traces are roll-the-bolt traces, okay, and they're designed to actually go over a particular swingle tree that has just fixed attachments, but can be put on a normal swing bar as well, and it acts like a lasso. These traces are normally fixed to coaches. These are coach traces where a horse has a normal collar, a proper neck collar, not a breast collar. But okay for this, what we're doing. We're now going to attach the carriage to the horse. The first thing we do with a helper, if you can, is bring the carriage up with the shafts well above the horse's back so it doesn't scare the horse. Quietly lower down into the open tug, quick release tug, and attach the tug to the shaft. Just to check with your helper that that has been done, because normally you can't see. Is it okay?
Okay.
Okay. We then take a trace each and we bring back to the swingle tree and we attach the trace over the swingle tree. The next step is I just do the belly band up, the back band up just a little bit at this point, just to hold the shafts in place. We then take the breeching strap and we attach to the shaft, taking into consideration the trace. So put the trace through, so the trace is over the breeching strap. Wrap around at this point once and do up to the second hole, having the trace through the breeching strap. This holds the trace in position and stops the trace from stepping down low around the horse's feet. It is very important to make sure at this point if the harness is set correctly. So push back the carriage and so the traces are tight, and see where the tug is sitting. So if the tug is sitting in the center of the back saddle, you know that you have the right setting. The next thing is to make sure that the breeching is set correctly. When the traces are tight and the breeching is done up, we should have 4 fingers behind the horse and the inside of the breeching. It's a fraction loose, so I'm a number 2. Could my groom go to number 3? Okay, that setting seems to be right, and we simply then put the end of the breeching strap in the keeper. Checking that all straps are within the keepers is very important. I then adjust the back band, and that needs to be not very tight and not very loose. So just to hold the carriage from tipping up or the shafts tipping up. It just keeps it in place. So we just check the harness, we check everything so that it's looking right. There's one thing I didn't mention is making sure that the winker, the eye of the horse, the center of the cup of the winker is in the center of the horse's eye. It's very important that it's not too high or not too low. So the eye is in the center of the winker cup. Everything's set, so I simply get ready and prepare to get in and start to drive. Firstly, I pull the reins out of the terret as they were placed in the safe position. I take the left rein and I put it over my forefinger, thumb down on the rein, just to hold it. I then put the right rein, missing one fork of the finger, to the next finger down, in the middle of your fingers. Put your right hand behind your left hand and simply slide up and down to make sure that you can shorten the rein and lengthen the rein. Picking up the end of the rein buckle, and put the end over your little finger. So this is what the hold is. Left rein over the forefinger, right rein in the middle fork of your finger, clamping down with the end buckle over your little pinky. The reason for that is, if I didn't hold the buckle up, you could get in and catch that over the carriage getting in. So it's a safety thing. So putting the rein on your little finger, getting in, you can see that the rein is well above any catch point. I then proceed to get into the carriage. If you want to shorten the rein, hold behind, shorten. Okay, if you need to get up to the horse to attend something here, shorten, and you still have the reins in your hands. To get back, simply let the rein slip in your hands gently, so the horse doesn't feel any tension on its mouth. I simply hang onto the carriage, right hand onto the rail, foot on the foot step, hang on with the rein onto the dash rail. I then step up into the carriage, still holding the reins in this position. I sit down, I put one leg forward, whichever is most comfortable, or you can put two forward. I normally drive with one forward and one back for comfort, and I then drop the rein out of my little finger. What you can do to check your reins is take your right hand, place it behind your left hand, and just check shorten and lengthen, shorten and lengthen. Then you can prepare to drive. And this is the modern way, accepted these days, and simply take the right rein into your right hand and spread your hands apart. And now you're ready to drive. Simply, if you want to go back to one hand to the rest, put the right rein over in between the center fingers as shown, check from behind, shorten, lengthen, okay, and you can sit here like this. You then take the whip, and the whip is used in the right hand. When taking the reins in two hands, simply pull the rein across and put the whip on top of the right rein. To use a whip on a carriage horse, it is always very gentle. So it's a brush. It's a brush. It's never a hit, and it's always on the back saddle or before the back saddle. And it's a brush. It's just like using your leg if you were riding a horse. And then you want to go the other side. A brush, a brush, a brush. Okay, never from behind and never harshly. Always remember to be gentle, and the horse will respect you. I then will take the reins, and the first thing I do is check the reins, that the reins are made correctly. The long main rein, the main rein is the one Jeffrey has. It comes back to my hand, and then there's a coupling rein attached, and the coupling rein goes across to the other horse. And if these reins are made correctly, you might see that there are 11 holes. 11 holes are in the reins, and neutral is the 6th hole, right in the middle. And if these reins are made correctly, the distance of the coupling rein should be longer than the draw rein, the main rein, by about 12 centimetres distance from this buckle to this buckle when that goes across. That gives a distance to be able to have the horses in control and the horses going squarely and straight. So this horse here is going to be on the near side or the left side of the carriage. So what I do, I put the rein, the main draft rein, the long rein, through the terret on the saddle and then through the terret on the breastplate, and simply do up on the bit. I then do the coupling rein across, and I don't put that onto the bit. The reason being that rein has to go across to the other horse. So in doing this, it is best to hang this rein off the throat lash and just do it up and let it hang in that position until we put the horses in the carriage. We then just hang the rein like we would a single on this side, loop through the terret, loop about this far from the end, poke through and pull back. And now we're ready to put the horses in the carriage. These traces now can be put over the horse's back, each side, so we're ready to attach the traces to the carriage. Okay, so if we bring this horse around this way and we bring both horses in now, both horses come in. You come in from the side of the carriage and into the centre of the pole, to the point of the pole. And because this horse is fairly new, he needs to learn. So we need to just push him over a little, push him over to the point of the pole and over, and probably just back a wee bit. The first thing we do is to do the pole straps and simply put through the ring on the breast collar and do up just probably fairly loosely to start with. So we do each horse. The next thing is the reins. So we bring the rein on the offside horse or the right side onto the left-hand side horse and put the rein billet on the bit. You might notice that these reins have double holes, and I'm going to the closest hole or the furthest hole on each side. Those couple of holes give you an extra little bit of adjustment. The other tip is, and I'm not sure which horse goes with its head high, but if when they go, it's best to have the horse with the high head so that the rein on the other horse pulls it down. So if this horse was going high and this horse was going low, you would put this rein under and this horse would help pull this horse's head down. So it's a matter of working out which way they're going to go. So that can be changed later. And it's always good then at this particular point in time to take the reins out of the terret, and then we will just pass this rein across onto this horse, and then I take the rein out of this terret, and this is a safety thing. They can be left up at this point, but I think it's a good safety thing, and especially with a new pair, as this pair is. I'm going to do up the buckle at the end of the reins so they're together at this point. I'm going to attach the traces to the carriage. The rule is that you always put the outside trace on, always. And if I have my groom around the other side, we'll both have another groom on the other side doing the same thing at the same time. The reason for putting the trace on the outside first is that anything happens that the horse gets a scare, the outside trace will help keep the horse in the pole. If you put the inside one on and something happens and the outside one is not on, the horse could flare out and cause an accident. So we put the outside one on first, always. Then we do the inside one and communicate with your groom on the other side, making sure the trace is flat as well. It's flat coming back each side, and we'll do the inside trace. Note that I still have the reins in my hands in case something happens, because we're harnessing a new pair in the open. So safety is very important. Now we have the horses attached to the carriage, and the next thing we do is we tighten the pole straps. At this point in time, I am going to get in the carriage. So again, the proper hold. Left rein on the pointer finger, over the pointer finger, and the right rein, missing one finger in the fork, checking from behind straight away, and then picking up the pinky, the buckle with your little finger or pinky. I then just gather the reins together. I do exactly the same as what I would do getting into a single carriage. I take up the reins in the one-handed position and I double check, shorten, lengthen, and sit here. 1 foot forward, 1 foot back, or both feet forward, whatever you prefer. I'm going to ask my grooms at the front now to do the pole straps up, because the pole straps are still loose. So if you could do my pole straps up, if you could do a loop on the buckle, on the D. The pole straps on this harness are too long for these horses. So we're just compromising by putting a loop in the pole strap to shorten it. If they're too far apart, that means that the horses can actually float too far apart and keep themselves away from the pole, which won't let them go, the horses go as a pair of horses. So at this point in time, we are ready to drive. Grooms have taken the head collars off, and we are going to say very carefully what we'll do, because the Haflinger pony is only new. I'll ask my groom to actually just support the Haflinger off when I say walk on. And what I'll do is nod to you, nod, and I'll say walk on, walk on, walk on. In a pair of horses, with a pair of horses, there's also always a speedy one that goes faster than the other. So you really need to identify which horse is doing more work than the other. And in this case, is the offside horse or the right side horse is doing most of the work, because this Haflinger pony is only very new and only very young. It's a 2-year-old. So it is very difficult for him to really get used to taking the draft and pulling the carriage like he should. It's only a matter of time before he learns his job. So I'm going to stop here and I'm going to explain what to do in this case. And this is the most important part of pair driving. And this is the part that lots of people don't understand. We have Speedy here, the fast one, and we have Slow Coach here, the slow one. So what we do, we get these buckles are adjusted. Remember I said there are 11 holes on the pair reins. So what we do, we bring back Speedy, the fast one, we adjust the buckle back towards me, which is bringing the Speedy, the fast horse, back on the bit more. Yep. So I will adjust this rein by 2 holes towards me. Bring that buckle towards me, 2 holes. And we're going to let Slow Coach, the slow horse, out 2 holes. At this point in time, once you move past neutral, you must make the adjustments on the reins in different directions, always. You can never leave one rein adjusted and not adjust the other rein. So if this one comes forward to my hand, which is bringing Speedy back to my hand, what are we doing? We're letting slow coach, the slow horse, go out. So in doing that, you're evening up the horses and letting slow coach take more weight and pull the carriage evenly, which takes the pressure off the horse doing all the work. So that is the main reason why we adjust the reins. It doesn't mean that this is where the adjustment is going to be all the time, because tomorrow they may be different again. So my rule of thumb is go back to neutral the next day and then see how they're going and then make the adjustments. So every day back to neutral and then make the adjustments. So it's a must that you adjust the reins to suit the horses on the day.